Can you hear us now? Can you?
Hey, Eric, it's Susan. You have to mute your mic on your computer, on your laptop. That's why you're getting the feedback. But I can't hear you though.
I can't hear anything.
About now.
Yes.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll talk tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Sue. Sorry about that.
You want to do a restart? Let's do a restart. Okay, we're gonna do a restart. Okay, it is called to order at 7:05. Welcome to the Town of Newington Conservation Commission meeting for September 20th, 2022. Ms. Gibbons, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ancona, Commissioner Bashand,
Here.
Commissioner Conway,
Here.
Commissioner DeHaas,
Here.
Commissioner Paskowitz,
Here.
Chairman Saydel,
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Okay, thank you. As a point of order, I will have Ms. Kelly DeHasbio, acting secretary for this meeting. Excuse me, let's go. It's my daughter, gotta mute her. Excuse me. Okay, item 3.
If I may, you should probably also seat Bernadette, Ms. Conway, because she is an alternate.
Okay. Okay, she's an alternate, and I will seat Ms. Conway as an alternate for Jeff Wagner.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption. Excuse the interruption. Item 3, public participation of non-agenda items. Each speaker limited to 2 minutes. Mr. Hinckley, is there anyone on the line?
There is one person in the room, phone number ending in 362. If you'd like to speak, you may. They don't have their hand raised, so
Okay, we shall continue to item 4, acceptance of minutes. Acceptance of minutes of July 19th, 2022 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections from commissioners on those minutes?
I had none.
Seeing and hearing none, may I have a motion to accept the minutes as written from the Town of Newington Conservation Commission meeting of July 19th, 2022.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes.
Moved by Commissioner Bashant,
Second.
second by Mr. Haas. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Disapprovals? Abstentions? Minutes passed 5-0. Care of that. Okay, moving on to item 5, new business. Item A, application number 2022-17 for construction of a building and associated parking lot when the upland review area at 680 North Mountain Road. Applicant owner Ballamore LLC. Contact Kevin Summers. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
May I have your name and address for the record?
Can you hear me?
yeah, you should be fine, Frank.
The applicant is present.
Name and address, please.
Name and address. My name is Francis Vaca from BSC Group. Here on behalf of Alta Properties Group of Kevin Summer and Carl Nielsen, address 680 North Mountain Road.
Thank you.
I believe Mr. Vaca is going to make a presentation of just a general
Present, and then
presentation.
there'll be some brief questions afterwards.
Very good. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. For the record, again, my name is Francis Vaca. I'm a professional engineer with the state of Connecticut. I work at BSC Group. I'm here on behalf of Alta Property Group. I have with me today Mr. Kevin Summers and Mr. Carl Nielsen, both representing Alta Property Group. I also have with me this afternoon Mr. Jake Bartha. He is our registered soil scientist responsible for the delineations at this site. We are here for the North Mountain Road industrial development located at 680 North Mountain Road in Newington. We are here to respectfully request an application for the wetland permit approval without public hearing. It is our interpretation that we will not have a significant impact on the wetlands or watercourses associated with our proposed development. This is a location of our property. It is represented in red as identified here. Can you all see my cursor on the screen? Very good. Harford Avenue is located to the south, Route 176. North Mountain Road comes up and around our property. Again, 680 North Mountain Road. Piper Brook's located to the west. There's an existing conditions plan associated with our parcel. The gray area you see on the west side of the page is North Mountain Road. The existing parcel is 1.34 acres in size, identified by the purple line here. It is predominantly an existing paved parking area. It's approximately 1.16 acres of bituminous pavement. The remainder of the site is green space. And then an analysis of the town of Newington wetland mapping, and it identifies a portion of the site. Our site is located right here in the center of the page. A portion of the site to be inland wetlands, and then the pink area represents buffer. I've superimposed that over our existing plan. So the pink on the plan here represents the upland review area, and the green identifies the town delineated wetlands. There is a small portion where the wetlands and our property crosses. It's approximately 0.3 acres, 0.65 acres of upland review. Mr. Bartha, our soil scientist, performed an in-field investigation and determined that there is actually 0 acres of wetlands located on the site, and the upland review has been reduced down to 0.31 acres. The wetland that is present to the south is located on an Eversource right-of-way for a distribution line. It is located, the wetland is represented in green here and is located approximately 12 feet at its narrowest point from our property. Therefore, it is our conclusion that there is currently no wetlands identified on the site. We have also confirmed this with the Connecticut Eco Database, National Wetlands Inventory Mapping, and NRCS Web Soils, and they all support that which is identified from the field investigation.
So if I may repeat, so of the wetland area itself is 0.3 acres, 0.65 of the upland review area.
The town mapping identified 0.65 of upland review and 0.3 on the town mapping PDF.
I believe it's, if I can, I believe it's 0.03. It's a very minuscule piece. It's 0.03 of an acre.
Okay.
It's a very,
It's a little typo there. I just, and that bullet item there under town wetland areas was 0.03, which is making a little more sense because.
It's for the
slide, you'll see that very little green sliver just over the property line. So that's, I think that's.
And I think your soil scientist will come forward and say you're disputing that that's even wetland at this time.
That's correct. Yeah. Yep.
Sorry to interrupt, guys.
So yes, to clarify that, that was what the wetland mapping is 0.03. I apologize for that. 0.03 on the site. And then yes, the field investigation identified that there is 0 wetlands located on the site, and the upland review area has been reduced to 0.31 acres. Again, approximately 12 feet away, and everything is confirmed with online mapping. This is our erosion sedimentation control plan. If you can see on this map, this is the 74 contour, 73 contour, 72 contour. So the drainage associated with the site runs towards the west, away from the wetland area, into some existing drainage. There is a small portion of the site at the southern portion of the site that does overland flow discharge into the wetland that was identified off-site.
So when construction is complete, that grading will remain intact. I know there's going to be building a building here with a parking lot, but the intent is to keep that grading at the level you just mentioned towards the North Mountain Road.
That is correct. There will be a portion of the site that will maintain discharge to the wetland for the purposes of maintaining flow and feeding that wetland. We are not cutting off flow to that wetland. During construction, what's identified here in yellow is sedimentation silt fence that will be installed throughout the entire buffer and in any area that would be discharging off-site, specifically towards the wetland. We also have identified here in red inlet protection, catch basin inlet protection baskets. We also have the oval represents controls around our temporary stockpile location and the town standard construction entrance. This is a representation of the proposed development. It is a 18,500 square foot proposed building identified here in orange. The front and rear parking areas are identified in blue, and then those areas that are represented in green include planting area and patio and green space. The patio and green space, all of the patio will be identified as pervious, so it would be either playground surfacing or something that would be considered a pervious surface. We are increasing the pervious coverage on the site, and as a result, there is an overall reduction in the site peak flows. Now, to the commissioner's question earlier, yes, this dark green area that is identified on the southeastern portion of the site is a stone filter strip that is intended to maintain discharge from a portion of the site to the wetland area to maintain flows so that we do not starve the wetlands of any of the flows that were naturally occurring as a result of the pavement, of the previous existing pavement. The stone filter strip will also serve to provide water quality and prevent any erosion associated with the finished development prior to it crossing into the the grassed area prior to the wetland, and it will all serve to provide additional water quality. For the front area of the site, all of the drainage discharge will enter into a hydrodynamic separator, so the front portion of the site will be treated prior to discharge following its existing path.
Going back to the rear of the property where that filter strip is, what type of maintenance is required? Is that self-sustaining?
It should be self-sustaining. It's currently a stone filter strip, but it will ultimately, it will collect sediment over time, and that sediment will ultimately revegetate, and it will, I'm not going to say it's going to become a wetland, but it will ultimately serve to continue to increase in water quality as sediment continues to build up in there. There would be probably a maintenance activity required if there were to be any erosion identified or anything that would be an excessive amount of sediment that would require a maintenance, but we do not anticipate to be anything more than
Could
3
something
years.
vegetate or grow out of that?
Yes. Yep. There is I don't have the detail in front of me, but there's a availability for a growing media. It's granular fill beneath the stone layer that is provided, and that ultimately over time, once sediment has accumulated into that, it will begin to revegetate.
And that's going to stay as is? It's not going to be cut, or just this will be as is? Is that
Yeah,
the
it will just,
plan?
yeah, yes.
Just let it grow and
Yep, that's correct.
let it be.
Yep, that's the
Okay.
intent behind it. So it will look like stone for a certain amount of time, and then as sediment from the parking area continues to fill in, it will begin to revegetate over time. Obviously, during regular maintenance activities, if you have excessive plant growth, weed growth, it would be just trimmed, similar to you would trim any other area of your lawn.
One other question
Sure.
about snow removal during the winter. I mean, you're sort of blocked back there. Any idea if that can be taken care of? You know, how is that going to be managed, in the winter months, we have to push salt and all that other stuff out of the way?
Yep, understood. There will be, there is a portion of the site that is located to this east corner that can be utilized for snow storage. That is one of the comments actually Eric addressed we did receive the planning and zoning comments actually today. That was one of them. So that will be another measure that will be identified and examined as we move towards permitting. And if additional area for snow storage would need to be added, we will definitely look into that. But that is the intent behind the filter strip is not to receive snow. We will have to coordinate the exact location of where additional snow measures. I know that snow continues to be increasing every year. We get more and more. So it's definitely something on our plans that we are going to make sure that we have areas enough to address those concerns.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions right now? I'll open up to the commissioners. If there are any questions for the applicant at this time, Commissioner Bashan.
You said you were decreasing or increasing the impervious, but decreasing the discharge?
I'm sorry, if I said impervious, I misspoke. I am increasing the pervious coverage by increasing the overall green space on the
Not
site.
sure if you misspoke or not, but that's how I heard it, so.
Understood.
What is the building going to be used for? I'm just curious. Is there a use planned yet?
It is going to remain industrial at this point, the representatives from Alta could speak more to this, but my understanding is it's going to be basically a flex use space. So it could be possibly a daycare area. It could be used for like landscape storage. It could be one of the flex commercial type, garage door, front office space, garage door
Commercial
bay
condo
type
or
stuff.
whatever.
Exactly,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah,
And what was the use of that parking lot before? Was that an accessory parking lot for another property or for another building?
that might be better answered from one of the
I
representatives.
believe it was part of the old Loctite building.
Oh, was it part of the Loctite complex originally?
The 705 across the street is also owned by Alpha, and that parking lot, correct me if I'm wrong, the parking lot was used at one time by 705.
Makes sense, because that was a huge complex there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's it for now.
Okay, Commissioner Haas. Anyone on the phone? Commissioner Paskowitz or Commissioner Conway?
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Conway,
I have no questions. Thank you.
let's proceed.
Very good. I'm coming to the close here. I know that there are various components that the commission needs to review to ensure approval, and I just wanted to review briefly. There is 100% work in the upland review area for this development. However, we've designed this with the stone filter strip to not impact the wetlands that we have identified on site. From a long-term wetland benefit, there is a minor increase in the flows that go through the stone filter strip toward the wetland that is to the south. over time, that will ultimately benefit in the wetland, providing just an additional and more sustainable habitat. After performing an on-site assessment, we don't believe there is no irreversible or retrievable loss of wetland or watercourses now that we've determined that there are no watercourses on the site. There is no interference with health, safety, or reasonable use of the property from an environmental standpoint. And similar to the long-term wetland benefit, this will benefit the areas for the wetland areas outside the property, in particular, this wetland that was identified to the south as the flows continue and as the habitat increases.
I do have a question about that southern boundary. I believe it was on Google Earth, and there is a tree line in that approximate vicinity where that strip is going to be.
Mhm.
Are those going to be removed?
I believe in order for the installation of the parking lot, if there are any trees that are located to the property line, they would be removed, but the intent would be that any trees that could remain would remain. And then anything obviously that would not be on the property would remain. But if there is no room in order to get the remainder of the proposed property in, they would have to be removed, yes. I will also, one additional clarification, that is the Eversource right-of-way, and they only have the ability to clear up to the edge of their right-of-way, but they have been performing maintenance throughout the state, and they will make sure that they go in there, and they will be clearing eventually, if not necessarily this year, in the next couple of years, to make sure that all of their right-of-ways are do not have trees in them.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking more lines of shielding as a shield between that property and the wetland, just a visual as well as aesthetics. We can save those trees. Obviously, they're quite old, tall, to save the resource. That's always.
Doesn't look like there'd be any room in that little tiny strip there.
It's
It's all paved, right? That's a driveway going in on the south side of the building.
This is paved along this stretch. There is some green space, and then again, obviously, if there is any need for additional screening trees or any type of additional screening measures, they can definitely be looked at. And again, we do have additional comments and stuff from engineering and from planning and zoning that we have to address, and those are definitely things that we could look into.
Thank you, sir.
I was just going to ask about the roof leaders. Are they discharging directly underground to the existing storm drain system, or are they going to just empty on the surface?
I believe.
How does that affect the total, the existing quantity of water on off-site?
Right now, there's a 6-inch roof leader that is identified on the plan here. So the building will ultimately discharge below grade to the drainage system, but because we are increasing the impervious through the additional green space, that is accounted for in addition to the coverage associated with the building. So there is no need for additional result of that. Besides the fact that most of the various towns are different, but a lot of the times it is the drainage from a roof is considered "quote unquote" clean from a water quality standpoint. But yes, that has been accounted for in our drainage calculations and has been addressed.
And engineering is doing their review, and they will review all the drainage calculations as well.
Okay, I think in the next portion, we're going to talk to the soil scientist.
Sure, absolutely. That was the.
Anything else you wanted to say?
No, that was it. So again, thank you. That was all I had. So if you had any additional questions on the specifics of the wetland themselves, by all means, I would defer to the soil scientist.
Okay.
Hello.
So name and address for the record.
Yes. Jake Bartha. I work for BSC Group, and I'm a state soil scientist.
Okay. Do you have any statements you'd like to make at first to the commission? I do have a few questions, but I'll let you give a summary of your report I just received this afternoon.
Yes.
You make an opening statement, or?
I don't think I need a statement. I'll just answer any questions you may have, and
Okay.
I can go over it in detail if you need me to.
Okay. First question, what in your opinion is the quality of that wetland that's adjacent to that property?
So the wetland itself isn't high quality, but it also isn't low quality. There were a vegetative cover that was mixed with cattails, typha, and a bunch of other obligate species of wetland that, obligate wetland species that tend to like wetlands that stay ponded for a good period of time throughout the year. So it's probably a in between high and low grade wetland, but because of the surrounding area, and because it's not an NDDB mapped area, I would consider it on the lower side of wetland grades.
I noticed you get a whole paragraph of species in there. I didn't have time to look these up, but these are mostly invasives, right? Is it for the most part?
Look at which part are you looking at? I had,
Page two, you have to go through the whole thing. It's like paragraph 3, you go through the whole vegetation here, but it's page 2, you know.
Yep. So on page 2 under field and guest investigations, paragraph 3, those are all wetland or facultative wetland species and vegetation. And I believe the only invasive on here is multiflora rose is the only invasive species that was present in the wetland.
Question,
Now-
Chairman Siddell.
Commissioner Paskowitz, go ahead.
Yes, did everyone receive the wetland report? Did every commissioner receive one?
I should have, Alan. I sent it
I
out
got it in the email.
this afternoon when I via email.
Oh, well, I don't have it, unfortunately. Could you tell us, please, or tell me, please, what the obligate species are that you identified?
List them out for you.
Yes, please, because I don't have any documentation here.
Okay, that's fine. We had buttonbush, we had multiflora rose, sensitive fern, soft rush, woolly fruit sedge, common boneset, and obligate species of wetland species were sallow sedge, Carex lorida, and rattlesnake grass, Glyceria canadensis, as well as cattail. And for trees along the edge of the row, we had pin oak and red maple.
Okay, thank you. Were there any invertebrate species that you saw, salamander, frogs, anything of that nature?
No, I did not observe any at the time of the wetland delineation, and there was no ponding present in the area of the wetland at the time of the wetland delineation.
And when was that delineation performed? Thank you.
That was on June 21st, 2022.
So is this a dry area or intermittent, or is it constantly wet?
I mean, it's hard to tell just from being there one time, but I think it's definitely intermittent, just because of the fact there was no ponding present, and the water below the soil surface was as well not present up to, I believe I went down to 35 inches below the soil surface.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Maybe someone else.
Commissioner Prashant.
It says it's been a pretty dry year, so any evidence of any vernal pools, springtime pools?
Not in the wetland I delineated. There was a ponded area off the area that I did delineate that was way off the site. I didn't go over and check that area, but it looked pretty ponded, but it also looked like it was being fed from another area. So I don't think it was a vernal pool. But I, again, didn't take a great look at that area because it was off-site by a good amount.
On the right-of-way property?
Yeah, on the right of way away from the property.
So we don't,
Go ahead, sure.
we don't really need permission to go on the right-of-way if we wanted to take just a site walk on the right-of-way, correct?
It's owned by someone else.
It's owned
I
by,
mean, it's owned by Eversource.
yeah,
So
I
I
don't
mean,
think they have like no trespassing signs or
Well-
anything. I mean, I was just curious. I may do it, but
either way, I
yeah.
mean, you know, it's not town property and it's not their property, so they can't give you permission.
Okay.
Just a point of reference, you guys, the assessment report does say June 21st, 2021, so I don't know if you need to correct that to.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Just
Yeah.
for the,
2021, June 21st, 2021.
you were out 21, not this year.
Yes.
Okay, so I think the
Said
commission.
22.
Yeah, I'm sorry about
Well,
that.
that's, I just wanted to clarify, so you guys are good with it, and we're all talking
21
about,
then.
because we know this year was very dry.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
And
Yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
brought that up, so if this changes any questions, feel free, but
And I
just
did
wanted-
get the report. I just didn't read it thoroughly, so I didn't see if you mentioned if there was a vernal pool or not. So that's the only reason I asked.
They were not noted.
I'm also,
Thank you. Mr. Bartlett, you mentioned the pin oak and the red maple. Were those trees I was referring to earlier?
Yes, I believe there was 2 or 3 red maples on that side and 1 pin oak. And I believe there's also a black locust, but it was farther away from the wetland and more near the parking area.
Okay. Getting back to the soil itself, are those basically disturbed soils that you found in the vicinity there? I would imagine that area in the right of way gets traveled by the owners to service the towers, and there's a lot going on back there, and whatever gets there gets trampled sort of with machinery and
Yeah,
stuff
so
like that.
the one area that's kind of was near the tree line area and also in between a fence on the other side of that property, that didn't get traveled that much, so that was pretty intact. But the area past the tree line and past our project area and site area next to it had some residual gravel encroaching, but not within the wetland. So I don't know what goes on back there, but it just seemed like it had been trampled recently.
Okay, there's no connectivity in a rainy season or wet period. Is there any connectivity with Piper Brook or anything else? It's just basically if it fills up, it just a marsh, like you said in your report, a pond, it just percolates until when it gets warm. Is that basically the hydrology of that?
Yes, that's
area.
what it seemed to indicate. And it was mostly due to the topography of that area. It just got stuck in that one spot and not anywhere to go.
Okay, and I think I noticed in your report there on the property itself, there's no evidence of any hydraulic soil there. I think you mentioned in that when we talked about earlier about the 0.03 acres and even in the upland review area, you basically, despite what's on the map, it's not a wetland soil. It's basically your conclusion.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we talked about erosion plan. That's about the only other thing is that when you caught the parking areas, sometimes inorganic debris of some sort gets stuck back there. Is that going to be cleaned away at some point? So I'm getting off topic here. Okay, but that's just one little note to myself.
Say that one more time, just so I'm clear on the question.
No, before anything starts, in these parking areas, sometimes they're neglected and people dispose stuff
Yes.
there. I assume that's going to be cleaned up out of the wetland and the upland review area before anything starts.
Oh, absolutely. Anything associated, the initial installation would be the perimeter controls that I identified on the erosion control plan. Those would be installed prior to any additional work. And then typically what would happen is any debris or anything that would not be specifically associated with pavement removal would be removed and disposed of appropriately prior to any addition. It's not going to be buried on site or anything like that. That's not going to happen. No.
Thank you, sir.
And just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, as part of their construction process, the construction company or applicant is required to post an erosion and sediment control bond with the town prior to make sure everything is installed properly. And if something fails and they don't correct it, we use that money to take corrective action.
Thank you for that, Mr. Hinckley. That concludes my questions. Mr. Haas, do you have any?
I don't.
Okay, anyone, Mr. Commissioner Paskowitz, do you have any further questions?
No, I do not. Thank you, Chairman Sedil.
Thank you. And Commissioner Conway.
I'm all set. Thank you.
All right, I think we're done here tonight. I think what we'd want piece of business is the need for the public hearing.
You can do that again under old business. We'll just.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, we'll just,
All right.
because we do have another application.
Under old business.
Didn't put it on there? I apologize for that if it's.
We could address it.
You can take the action now then, I'm sorry. I
Okay, so,
apologize.
all right, my recommendation is not to have the public hearing. I think it's, commercial property, isolated area. I don't think any other abutting owner is gonna have an issue. That's my recommendation. How do you feel?
I agree.
Sean? Mr. Haas?
I'll agree with that.
Commissioner Paskowitz?
Yes, I concur.
Thank you. Commissioner Conway?
I agree.
Thank you. So to that effect, may I have a motion on application 2022-17, 680 North Mountain Road for the construction of a building and associate parking lot within the regulated area, owner applicant, Palomar LLC, contact Kevin Summers.
The motion to not, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion for no public hearing. This activity will have no significant impact on the regulated area and will not require a public hearing.
Thank you. So moved. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bashant. We'll call the roll, Ms. Gibbons.
Commissioner Bashand,
Yes.
Commissioner Conway,
Yes.
Commissioner DeHaas,
Yes,
Commissioner Paskowitz,
Yes.
Chairman Sato,
Yes,
5-0.
thank you. Okay, so we'll finalize this next month. Thank you. Going on to new business, item B, application 2022-18 for construction of a building addition within the upland review area at 316 Maple Hill Avenue. Applicant owner contact Chase Prescott. Applicant present.
He is in the room. I mean, he's via Zoom. Chase, you can go ahead. You can go ahead, Mr. Prescott.
It was a small one, yes, there was.
Chase, are you there? You can go ahead and talk, Chase.
Did you unmute him, Eric?
Yeah, he's unmuted. Because he's a panelist, so I don't really have to unmute him, but I can
Oh,
see
okay.
he's unmuted. Mr. Prescott, are you there?
Mr. Hinckley, would you like to take a short recess?
Hold on.
Or we're waiting? Thanks.
I don't know if they're having. Can you guys hear us? You can either nod your head if you can. You can? Okay. I can't hear you though. Yeah. You can go to the town website and you can actually dial in on the phone with use the number for the meeting.
And when they enter the meeting, they have to accept with the audio too.
they should be able to.
Why don't we go ahead and just have a recess here while I work with them and try and get them
Okay,
in?
so we're in recess, Ms. Gibbons, at 7:40. We'll return at 7:50. We're
Okay.
adjourned till 7:50. Thank you.
Yeah, so I wasn't getting any of these plans or anything. The only thing I got. was
This came in the mail. Yes, I got this in the mail. This,
Oh, okay.
but the other
The
thing,
envelope sitting right on my desk. I didn't even look at it. Dumb. You're right. I got it.
this came in the
Just didn't
email.
look at it.
This soil report was emailed. This,
I opened
You're
it. I
not
put it on my-
muted. The mute, we can still hear you.
we got out of here. Let's go.
I'm not saying anything I don't want anyone to hear. Yeah, I had the envelope and I opened it and I put it on there.
Just gonna. Chase, this is Eric. Yeah, so what I was saying is I can give you the number to call in, and then you can put in the meeting ID and the password, and you should be able to just speak on the phone. Oh, so, all right, so, but your Zoom isn't coming through with the audio either. It's, excuse me. You can do 888-788-00, yep. 0099. Yeah, try that. If not, I don't want to hold you up. I don't know if you can get over here in the next 10 minutes and you're sort of close, but. Okay, that's fine. So if we have a technical problem, we'll just push it till next month, but see if you can dial in. Okay. Yep.
More candy?
No, I got a minute here, but thank you. He's gonna try and dial in. I don't know. Hmm.
Eric, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, everybody.
All right, no problem. So give us a couple minutes and we'll restart the meeting.
Sure.
All right, no problem. It appears everybody's back, Mr. Chairman, but I can't tell for sure. If you just want to wait till the 7:50, that's fine.
Ms. Gibbons, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so we've got our technical issues. So I'm going to say that the Newington, Town of Newington Conservation Commission for September 20th is back in session as of 7:48 PM. And moving on to new business application, excuse me, 2022-18 for construction of a building addition within the upland review area at 316 Maple Hill Avenue. Applicant owner, contact Chase Prescott. Is the applicant present online?
Yes.
Good evening, sir. Have your name and address for the record?
Chase Prescott, 316 Maple Hill Avenue.
Thank you. So can you give us a little walk through your plan here? Current state, future state, impact to the wetland?
Sure. So we have an existing sun porch off of the south side of our house. We were gonna bump that out another 10 feet and also go up a second story and then add that 2-car garage off to the side. As far as the impact goes, I guess there could be some soil erosion, and we were going to set up a silt fence for that.
But that, if I could understand your plan, that's going to be on the south side away from the wetland line.
Correct.
Yes.
So I would say erosion should be minimal. I think you're going to touch the existing house as well. They're going to.
No, I believe if you read my staff report, I believe that the grading is going to be minimal just around where the activity is. They're not changing the grade of the property or anything. They're just adding in, closing that breezeway and then, building the garage. So as you guys know, this is all completely within the URA. Typically, this is something that as the agent, I can do an agent approval on. However, past practices, any kind of in-ground pool or building additions always go before the commission.
Thank you, sir. I do have one question about this lot number 4. How is this? Is that the same property as well on the right-hand side? What exactly? So he's, go ahead.
Sorry, that's a separate property and there's a home there.
Yes, the house was built within the last 6 years or so.
So that's for reference only, looks like. I got confused. That's only strictly for reference as background. Okay.
Right. This survey just included all those properties because they were all owned at one time by one person. They just
It was
did some,
split?
they
Okay,
split them up.
gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha. Commissioner Bashant.
Eric, that dotted line, that's the building, that's within the building lines with all the offsets, correct?
Yes.
So the addition, everything's planned for within that space.
Yep. It'll have, yeah.
And then where is the new street is just at the edge of his property, correct? So he still has quite a buffer to the street there.
Yep.
Correct.
Basically, almost the entire addition is in the upland review area.
Correct. Because this is the buffer line, as you see. And then the wetland line is actually on the golf course.
What is the wetland? Is it just a storm runoff or something? Because I
A
can't.
lot of that golf course is flagged as wetlands. It's probably one of those things where if we actually had a soil scientist go out there, we'd probably lose a lot of it on the golf course, especially on this side.
Because I
The
don't.
other side with the ponds
other
on
side got a
Willard,
little
yeah.
brook there. I don't remember anything on this side.
I don't,
Probably just a
it
storm
went
channel or something.
probably on the old aerial photography. It looked, it could have been damp back in the, early
Or filled
70s.
or something.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Commissioner DeHaas, do you have any comments?
I have none.
Thank you. Commissioner Paskowitz. Commissioner Paskovich, are you online still?
Says he is, but I'll ask him to unmute, see if he.
Commissioner Conway, are you there?
I am, and I have no questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Paskovich, I want to give him his chance to speak, or for comments.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. I was muted and I have no comments or questions.
Okay. Well, I think this one's pretty straightforward, Mr. Hinckley. So it comes down to the question of the need of a public hearing. I recommend not in this case, when it checks. So relative to application 2022-18, 316 Maple Hill Avenue, construction of a building within the regulated area. Owner applicant, contact Chase Prescott. Mr. Haas.
I'd like to move for no public hearing. This activity will have no significant impact to the regulated area and will not require a public hearing.
Thank you. So moved. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Prashant. Ms. Gibbons, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bashant,
Yes.
Commissioner Conway,
Yes.
Commissioner DeHaas,
Yes.
Commissioner Paskovich,
Yes.
Chairman Sadil,
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you. Good luck, Mr. We'll see you next month to finalize that permit, Mr. Prescott.
Correct.
All
Thank you
right.
very much, everybody.
You're welcome. Item 6, old business, none. Moving on to item 7, public participation on non-agenda items. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. Mr. Hinckley, is anyone on the line?
There's no one in the room attending.
Okay, moving on. Item 8, communications and reports. Mr. Hinckley, do you have any agent communications for the past 2 months?
So I did a couple of agent approvals, one at 339 Main Street for a front porch, and another at 19 Highland Street for a deck. The one on Highland Street, I briefly went over it with you, Mr. Chairman. This was an existing deck within the wetland proper. So we had a discussion with a homeowner and I got them to actually relocate the deck outside of the wetland area and just as in the buffer area. So that one worked out well. The other thing I've been working on is I've been working with the Parks Department and the Board of Ed on some trees and shrubs that they want removed near the bus garage. They had some, with the weather the last couple months, they've had some branches come down on buses. So we agreed on 3 trees that are going to get removed. They've been posted. And most of the trees are currently vine covered, leaning and partially dead. The tree warden has looked at them, the park supervisor. So we selected 3 trees up on the berm, and then once that work is done, we're going to work with Board of Ed on putting in some kind of shrubs in that general area just to kind of replace the trees and hold the top of the bank, which is fine.
Talking about where the cliff and the
It's
next to the falls.
It's on the other side of, if you're heading from the town hall back out to Garfield, it's past the bridge on the right. Yeah.
Former bus garage.
It's where they're parking the buses now on the opposite side.
An area.
So that's the other thing I've been working on.
Just had a quick question. I noticed some notices on trees, you know, when there's public trees and they're gonna cut them down. That never comes before us or we don't get involved with that.
Typically, no. I mean, usually if a tree gets posted, it's dead, diseased, or dying.
Yeah.
And it's looked at by the tree warden and the park supervisor. So if a tree is just, being taken down for that, that's the constant, as a wetland, you're not going to really get involved in that unless we have the discussion. If it's, if they find a little stand of trees or something and they're going to be stumping them, then it's a different story because they're going to be uprooting that stuff. As a conservation commission, if there was somebody was coming in, the town's coming in, removing a bunch of trees within an area, may not be a wetland area, I would certainly let you guys know. And as the conservation commission, you could chime in, but again, that's typically just an advisory capacity as the conservation commission.
I did have a resident, this has been a few months now already, that was concerned about tree cutting at the golf course. I said, I didn't think that that was our, we had any control over that.
I've dealt with that over the last couple of years. Their club, they've hired an arborist and gone out and looked at trees. I've had discussions because it is town property. I have had discussions with the Parks Department about posting trees on the golf course. It's still our property.
Mhm.
But, ultimately, it's not my decision.
As far as I can tell, the oldest and largest tree is up there. Someone recognized it and put lightning rods in it and everything, lightning protection. I don't know many trees in town that have lightning protection. So it indicates to me, I did my own little amateur research and tried to find the largest, oldest tree, and it's a red oak up there. I think it's a red oak or a white oak, but I think it's a red oak.
So.
Just one more thing.
Sure.
When you do those agent approvals, you notify us, right? You send the email out occasionally. I thought I've seen them before.
I used to. I can probably just do an email and start doing it again. I mean, it's been so hectic because, all the legal notices I have to do, and some of those probably do get lost in the shuffle. But I can at least try and send out the addresses going forward where those are done.
If there's a consensus that that's a good idea.
I normally get them. He tells me,
Oh,
he hands them to me.
Yes.
Oh, if you want to CC him, it's fine. Okay. Fill up your inbox, it's okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8B. Town Council Liaison Communications is either Councilor Bedrejko or Councilor Rada on the line this evening.
Councilor Rada is.
Good evening, and I have no communication at this time.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8C, Pond Life Research and Education. Commissioner Paskowitz, do you have an update for this month?
No, I have nothing to report this month. Maybe next month we'll look into something else. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think that concludes our agenda. To item 9, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Moved by Commissioner Rashan, excuse me.
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeHaas. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Excuse me. It's unanimous. Have a good night. See you next month.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night.